In 2026, the restaurant industry is grappling with a perfect storm of skyrocketing food costs, supply chain bottlenecks, and a desperate need to protect profit margins. While most establishments maintain rigorous safety standards, a subset of the industry has turned to a recovery mindset, finding ingenious and often dangerous ways to extend the shelf life of ingredients that should have been discarded days ago. The farm-to-table transparency of the last decade is occasionally being replaced by a mask-and-hide strategy, where the goal is to ensure that nothing hits the trash bin, regardless of its bacterial load. As consumers, we often equate a high price tag with freshness, but in 2026, even high-end bistros are under pressure to reduce shrink. Understanding the mechanics of how spoiled food is repurposed is essential for anyone dining out in an era where the financial bottom line often conflicts with public health. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. From chemical washes to the strategic use of heavy aromatics, the tactics used to serve expired inventory have become more sophisticated and harder for the average diner to detect. 1. Why the spice mask is a red flag. The most common tactic for hiding protein that has begun to turn is the heavy use of bold, aggressive seasonings. In 2026, if you find a dish is unusually spicy or drenched in a pungent garlic and herb rub, it may not be a chef's signature style. It may be an attempt to cover the sulfurous odor of oxidizing meat. Bacteria, particularly Salmonella and E. coli, produce off-putting smells as they break down muscle fibers. However, these odors are easily neutralized or masked by high acidity, vinegar and citrus, or deep, smoky spices like cumin and paprika. This is particularly prevalent in specials like blackened fish or heavily marinated kebabs. By the time a protein reaches the slightly slimy stage, it hasn't necessarily become toxic to everyone, but it is on the verge. Restaurants will submerge these proteins in highly acidic marinades for 24 hours, which both cooks the surface of the meat and kills surface-level odors. When the meat is eventually grilled or seared at high heat, the caramelized spices provide a secondary layer of sensory deception. In 2026, bold flavor is sometimes used as a tool for economic survival, allowing a kitchen to move inventory that is 48 hours past its prime without the customer ever suspecting the decay beneath the heat. 2. Why sauce drowning hides texture. Spoilage isn't just about smell, it's about the degradation of texture. As meat and vegetables age, they lose their structural integrity. Meat becomes mushy, and vegetables turn limp or weepy. To combat this, kitchens utilize this sauce drowning technique. In 2026, heavy cream sauces, thick gravies, and starchy reductions are the ultimate cloaking devices for compromised ingredients. When a piece of chicken is overaged and lacks the firm snap of fresh poultry, a thick béarnaise or a heavy mushroom ragu can provide the necessary mouthfeel to distract the diner. This tactic is a favorite for pasta dishes and casseroles. Because the ingredients are chopped into smaller pieces and enveloped in a viscous liquid, the tongue cannot easily distinguish between a fresh scallop and one that has been sitting in the walk-in for 5 days. Furthermore, the high-fat content in these sauces coats the palate, temporarily dulling the taste bud's ability to pick up on the slight tang or sourness associated with early-stage spoilage. In an era where comfort food is trending, these heavy sauces offer a convenient way for restaurants to utilize tired inventory while still charging a premium for a dish that appears rich and indulgent. 3. Why the deep fryer cure is a trap. The deep fryer is the laundry machine of the commercial kitchen. In 2026, the deep fryer cure remains a primary method for rescuing seafood and poultry that is on its last legs. High-temperature frying, usually at 180 degrees Celsius, is incredibly effective at killing most surface bacteria and, more importantly, obliterating the physical evidence of spoilage. The intense heat creates a Maillard reaction that results in a crispy, golden crust, while the steam generated inside the batter helps to temporarily rehydrate dried out, expiring proteins. 4. Why the daily special is often old news. In the culinary world of 2026, the chef's special is rarely about a burst of creative inspiration. It is a tactical maneuver designed to move the oldest items in the refrigerator. The daily special is almost always the inventory exit strategy. If a restaurant ordered too much salmon on Tuesday, you can expect to see salmon croquettes or creamy salmon pasta by Friday. This isn't inherently malicious, but it becomes a sneaky tactic when the food is pushed past the safety window under the guise of being freshly caught or seasonal. Kitchens will often take the trimmings from a primary dish, pieces that have been exposed to air longer than the main cuts, and repurpose them into soups, stews, or house-made sausages. Because these items are highly processed and simmered for hours, the flavors of age are cooked out and the texture is uniform. In 2026, savvy diners should be wary of specials that involve chopped, minced, or slow-simmered versions of the previous day's premium offerings. The more a kitchen has to manipulate an ingredient to make it special, the more likely it is that the ingredient was on the verge of being thrown away. 5. Why chemical refreshing is rising. A more clinical and concerning tactic appearing in 2026 is the use of refreshing agents. To keep produce looking vibrant, and to prevent the browning of pre-cut meats, some kitchens utilize sulfites or anti-browning powders. While these are often legal, they can be used to make old, oxidizing food look deceptive. For example, a wilted salad can be refreshed in an ice bath treated with certain salts to restore its turgidity, making it appear as though it was harvested that morning. Similarly, older red meat that has begun to turn gray, a natural result of oxidation, can be treated with carbon monoxide, gas-flushed, packaging, or citrus-based washes to artificially restore a bright red hue. This creates a visual lie. The meat looks bloody and fresh, but the internal bacterial count tells a different story. In 2026, as restaurants struggle with the aesthetic demands of social media, the pressure to serve food that looks perfect often leads to these chemical shortcuts. Diners should look for the bounce back. Fresh meat should be resilient and have a neutral scent, while chemically refreshed meat often has a slightly metallic or overly clean smell. 6. Why the buffet heat lamp deception works. The buffet line is the ultimate graveyard for expiring ingredients, and in 2026, the use of heat lamps and steam tables has been refined into a deceptive art. Restaurants often take the leftovers from the previous night's service and integrate them into the lunch buffet. To keep these items from looking dry and old, they are frequently tossed in glazes, high sugar or high oil coatings that provide a constant sheen under the heat lamps. The heat lamp serves a dual purpose. It keeps the food at a safe temperature, theoretically above 60 degrees Celsius, but it also serves to dry out the surface of the food, creating a leathery exterior that hides the mushy interior of old vegetables or proteins. Furthermore, the communal nature of the buffet makes it difficult to trace a specific off flavor back to a single ingredient. In 2026, buffets remain the highest-risk dining environment for spoiled food, as the batch cooking method allows kitchens to mix new inventory with old inventory, effectively diluting the spoilage and making it nearly impossible for the consumer to detect. 7. Why pre-marinated is a warning sign. When you see pre-marinated or house-seasoned items on a menu in 2026, it is often a sign that the kitchen has locked in an ingredient to stop it from smelling. Marinating is the most effective way to extend the perceived life of a protein. Once a steak is submerged in a red wine or soy-based marinade, the color changes, the smell is replaced by the aromatics, and the texture is altered by the salt and acid. This tactic is often used in high-volume steakhouse chains and express bistros. By marinating the meat at the very end of its shelf life, the kitchen can reset the clock for another 48 to 72 hours in the eyes of the consumer. The salt acts as a preservative, while the acid breaks down the toughness that often comes with older, dehydrated cuts of meat. In 2026, the most transparent way to eat is to order naked proteins, unseasoned and without sauce, where the natural color, smell, and texture of the food have nowhere to hide. The evolution of restaurant tactics in 2026 serves as a reminder that the nose knows. Despite the best efforts of a kitchen to mask, fry, or sauce their way out of a spoilage crisis, your biological senses are your best defense. If a dish smells off, has a metallic aftertaste, or an unnaturally mushy texture, it is better to send it back than to risk a 2026-sized medical bill.